Alright everybody, thank you so much for joining me for a new tutorial video. In this video, you will not be seeing my face today. You will only be seeing my beautiful hands. So, we're going to be talking today about Adobe Illustrator Draw. This has been a request I've been getting for a long time from people on my Instagram account, in my YouTube comments, about me doing a walkthrough of Adobe Illustrator Draw. Here we go, we're finally doing it, so let's get started. Alright everybody, so let's get started. Now, I've been using Adobe Illustrator Draw now for about 6 months or so. I first started using it when I was on Adobe Live. If you guys haven't checked out Adobe Live, definitely check them out. I'm actually going to be back on their live stream in the beginning of March 6th through the 8th. I'm really excited, so I can't wait to be back there. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to walk through some basic parts with this. Now, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen my drawings in here. In fact, hold on one second. Let me actually decrease this. There we go. Now it's a lot. Now this feels a lot better. Okay. So you guys have probably seen me do a lot of doodles. Here's some of my illustrations that I've done on the iPad Pro using Adobe Illustrator Draw. This has become one of my favorite drawing tools, and it's something that I really didn't even think about using for a while. I had downloaded the apps on my iPad Pro, but I never really used them until I was at Adobe Live in August. So I'm going to walk through for you guys just a little tutorial on the different ways of using the app, the different gestures, ways to mess with brushes, your canvases, and things like that. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and grab one of these illustrations. We'll just grab this one here. This was just a little warm-up illustration I did over the weekend. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to walk you through touch gestures. So as you just saw me when I was, I can rearrange, I can zoom in, zoom out just by taking my thumb and my index finger and pressing them onto the iPad screen, and pressing them on the iPad screen, and then just pinching or expanding the fingers so I can zoom in just like that. Now, let's say I go and I take my Apple Pencil and I draw, this line, by accident. So what I can do is I can take my my index finger and my middle finger, and I can swipe. Whoops, there we go. Sorry. I can swipe to undo, and then if I'm like, oh no, that was actually something I wanted to keep, I can swipe back to redo it. So just to recap, that's two fingers swiping left is an undo, and swiping right is a redo, but we're going to undo that. Now I can also take my two fingers and I can just press them on the screen, and I can move around. I can pan around on the screen and zoom in. So there's a lot of control, and the cool thing is you can also rotate the canvas. As you guys can see right here, we are rotating the canvas, and it does snap back pretty well to where it was at. So that's pretty cool. That's for whenever if you don't want to rotate the iPad Pro at all, if you want to just keep it in place, but you need to rotate the canvas to get a better angle for your drawing. Now, another cool thing is, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to brushes, but you can actually go and, let's say we go into here, and let's say we want to have that pink color that we have here. So what we can do is we can press and hold on the color, and we get this eyedropper tool. And so I can go through and I can go across the pink, the blue, the navy blue here, the white, and I can pick the color I want, which I want the pink. Whoops. I want the pink. So now we have the pink, and now we can, add to this and everything there. Let's undo all of that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is shapes. So the cool thing is, if you guys can see up here, luckily I have a screen recording of this so I can zoom in and show you guys. But you can click this here and you can get a group of shapes. Now, the ones that I tend to use the most are usually this ruler like shape here, as you guys can see it going across the screen. This is great for whenever you're trying to get those sharp angles and you don't want to attempt it with your hand. Like me, my hand has a little bit of a shake to it, so sometimes I can't get a perfectly straight line, so this comes in real handy here. And as you can see, that the line, when I draw, it automatically goes right onto the line, and it can even pick up pen pressure sensitivity. This comes in handy quite a bit when you're doing these types of things. You can also go in here and you can get shapes, so like this circle here, and you can draw around it however you want. Or you can go and press and hold, and it will automatically stamp out that shape. Now, additionally, just like with the regular gestures, you can also go and pinch with your fingers and move around this shape and pinch it, expand it, and you can also warp it too. So you can make it either skinny or wide. You can make an oval shape. And the cool thing is that they have multiple different shapes for you. They have the lines like we showed, a circle, a square, a triangle. Then they also have polygons like a triangle, a pentagon, and so forth, a star, a diamond. And then they even have some little fun ones like comics. They have, BAM. We'll actually grab this and we'll bring it over here and see if we can't do a stamp. Yep, there we go. So now we have a BAM stamp right there. They also have, they also have French curves too. I never use French curves, but if you use French curves, you can use those. They also, they have people. So you can actually have placeholder people for projects where you're like, okay, so we're gonna have a person standing right over here above his ear, and you can click and stamp him, and now you have that person just standing right there. So these are pretty cool things that you can use. So let's undo all of that. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about customizing brushes. So now you've seen me do a little bit of customize where I can change the color, but let's go back into this one. If we tap and hold here, let me use the so if we tap and hold, if we tap and hold the brush, we get to see all of the different brushes that we have. So we only have 5 different brushes that we can choose from. We have the basic round brush. We have the basic taper, the basic flat, the basic chisel, and the basic terminal. Now, I will be honest with you. I am one of those creatives who uses the same tool over and over again, like I've said during my live streams and in other videos. So I always go for the basic round. That is by far my favorite brush to use in Adobe Illustrator Draw. By far my favorite. Now, what I do is, and what you can do is, you can go here in the left part of the app. We can adjust just by pressing and swiping up. We can adjust the thickness, so we can make it really thick, or we can drag it down and make it really thin. We can also do the same thing with opacity. Is we can press and hold on opacity, and we can drag down to decrease the number of the opacity in case we want to add little details or build on details, and then swipe up to bring it back up to the top. In the color section, we can actually click there and we get a color picker. We also have themes that are already built into the app. You can swipe through and see all the themes. Some of these, I believe, come directly from Adobe Color. And then you can also go in and create your own custom library like I have here, where I have all of my colors saved. So there's a lot of things you can do with color, and as I said before, you can click and drag, you can press and drag to then go and select colors. So that comes in handy. Now, the last thing we'll do is, let me just grab a color here, is we can go in and we can actually mess with the dynamics, the settings of the brushes. So this is, right now what we have here is my basic standard brush where I have roundness at 100%. You can actually go and play with this. So you can make it either thin, more chiseled, or you can keep it rounded like I have here. You can also mess with the angle of it here. I always keep it at 90%. That's, I believe, the standard degree. I don't really mess with that too much. I don't really care too much for that. I also don't mess with the taper. As you can see in the basic example, tapering really makes things thinner. I don't like tapering, so I don't really mess with too much of that. And then the biggest thing, the thing that I love the most about this is the pressure dynamics. That's what changes the whole game for me. This is one of the reasons why I love it. I always have pressure dynamics on, and I'll sometimes have it either at 100% or I'll have it at like 65 or so. Here I'm going to keep it at 100. Then we also have velocity dynamics. I usually keep that at 0. I have it turned on, but I don't really use it too much. It's not a setting that necessarily affects my work, so I'm not going to really talk too much about it because I truly don't know nearly as much as some other people might. So those are the basics with the brushes. Whoops, and we can see that we accidentally drew something on that guy's mouth. So this is probably the biggest tip for this entire video. This is a question that people are always asking me about Adobe Illustrator Draw. They're always wondering, how in the world do I get these really crisp lines whenever they try to draw? It looks really wonky, it doesn't feel quite right. And so I'm going to give you a quick little demo of how to do it. This is something that I learned live on Adobe Live in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people watching me work in this app. So what we're going to do is we're going to close our illustration and we're going to get to this page, this project page right here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hit the settings, which is at the bottom right of the app. And then we're going to get this settings and account page pulled up. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to go into preferences, and then none of these other things really have to do with this. It's only one specific area that I ever mess with, and that is what's called stroke smoothing. Stroke smoothing is the thing that makes this so much better. Now, whenever you first download the app, the first thing you're going to see is stroke smoothing while drawing. That is what is normally on. And so let me show you what happens when we do that. So we're going to grab one of our brushes and we're going to draw, and we're going to just like wiggle it around and everything. And notice how nothing happened. It just followed the normal way that my hand is drawing. Yuck. I hate that. I'm sure that you guys really hate that as well. It doesn't look good. So instead, let's undo. We're going to close this out. Then we're going to go back to our settings, and we're going to click under stroke smoothing. We're going to click after or press after drawing. We're going to go back to that same board, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do something similar. We're going to make it really janky, and then watch what happens when I lift off the Apple Pencil. Did you notice that? Let me do it one more time. It fixed it. It smoothed it out a little bit. So now, like, if I go and I draw this line, it smooths it out just a little bit. That is a huge thing when you're doing these illustrations, when you're doing these little doodles here. So let me show you, whoops. So let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a little something here. So I'm going to draw just a simple leaf. So I've got this line here. I'm not worried about how good it is or anything like that. Now I'm going to draw that end. Notice how it smoothed it right at the end, so it fixed it a little bit. And it fixed it there as well. So what's happening now is because we have this on, we're able to really control these things a lot more. It gives like a little bit of a correction to the illustrations, And that alone makes a huge difference. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go and show you what that looks like. We're going to just like move this over. We're going to close this again. We're going to go into settings. We're going to choose while drawing, back on, go back in, and now let's try and draw this exact same leaf with that off. Now remember, my hands sometimes shake. You can maybe see it just a little bit. So this is always way more difficult for me, especially the first time when I did this on Adobe Live, I was a little bit nervous. So we're going to, I'm not going to do it just perfectly on purpose, but as you can see, notice how that line looks really bad. Whoops. So now we're going to draw this end, and now we're going to draw this end here. It's looking really, really off a little bit. Then I'm going to draw these just like we did on the original. And there. So you guys can see the difference between these two. You can see how this one is more fluid, more sharp, just feels so much better. This one is really janky, it's rough. It doesn't really work. So that small change, just by going into your settings and changing it to after drawing, that helps tremendously. That is the best feature in this entire app, in my opinion. The last little bit I'm going to talk about is just some basic things. We're going to go back into this guy here. The cool thing about Adobe Illustrator Draw, for all of those out there, all of you out there who have Adobe Illustrator CC, or basically if you have Adobe Creative Cloud, these apps are just amazing. Everything is almost integrated perfectly. And let me show you an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here. Actually, you know what? I just read, hold everything. Hold it. I made a mistake. I am sorry. Before we go and do that, let me just talk about one more thing, and that is the layers panel. Sorry guys, I have sticky notes up top here, and I just realized I completely skipped over this part, so I apologize. This lets you know these videos are kind of unscripted. I'm just going at these in my own pace, so I apologize. But here, let me just talk about the layers panel. So the cool thing is, on here on the right, you can kind of see that there are these layers. Now, you can create two different layers. You can create a draw layer, and you can create an image layer. For the most part, the only reason I've found I have an image layer for myself is whenever I have sketches. So what I tend to do is I will just have draw layers. Now, the cool thing is you can go into, you can double tap onto the draw layer. And now you have this like dialogue here. You have a few different things that you can do here. You can play with the opacity. So you can decide, you know, how much opacity you want for this layer. You can mess with the blend mode, so you can choose like multiply, or you can choose screen, or any of those things. Here it doesn't work because we don't have multiple colors on multiple layers, but you have different blending modes. This is perfect for me when I do shading, because I'll have one layer where I put it to multiply, and then I'll go in and I'll put it down to the opacity that I normally have for my shadows, which is 35%. Now, we'll put that back to here. Another thing you have is whoops, let me put that to normal. There we go. Now, you have a few other tools here. You have the transform, which when we click transform, we can then shrink or rotate our layer. And you can also flip it any way that you want. And then you can even have it, whoops, You can even have it to fit to view. So that's a pretty cool thing there. Now, let's see. The last thing that I will say on the layers is you can also hide your layers. Just by tapping on that, you can hide your layers, so you don't have to actually go into the panel, but you can also hide it like that. You can also name your layers. That's a really cool feature. Now, so that's it for the layers. Just wanted to quick go over that. Sorry that I interrupted the flow of this, but hopefully you guys forgive me. Now, I'm going to go back to what I was talking about before, which was the cool thing about these mobile apps, whether it's Adobe Illustrator Draw or Adobe Photoshop Sketch, any of the mobile apps, is they are really integrated into Creative Cloud. What that means is we can go up to here and we can have different options for exporting. So we can actually go and hit up here where it says open in. We can go in here and we can choose to have this file here, this file that we've been working on, sent directly to our Adobe Illustrator Creative Cloud. That means we don't have to worry about saving it out somewhere, then like saving it out to Dropbox, then opening up Dropbox, waiting for it to sync. It will automatically send this exact file with the layers intact to Adobe Illustrator. So that's really cool. And oh, and by the way, everything that you create in Adobe Illustrator Draw is vector. That means that you guys can do so much more with these illustrations than you could in, let's say, Adobe Photoshop Sketch, or if you create it in something like Procreate. So that's really cool. You can also share via an image. You can also share via a link. So you can actually get a link that you can then go and share with anyone else that you're working with. So like, for instance, if you were doing an illustration for a client or something along those lines, you can get a link that you can send directly to them. They can then go and open that up, I believe, in their own iPad Pro. Now, the other ones we have also are send to Behance, Creative Cloud files as PSD, Creative Cloud files as PDF, Clipboard, but this is the feature that I really want to talk about. This is the feature that I love, and it really makes this app and Adobe Photoshop Sketch amazing, and that is Timelapse. So by clicking Timelapse, what we've just done is we've actually created a time-lapse video of the start to finish of this illustration. So we're going to go ahead and click play on this, and you can actually see me in a very fast time-lapse speed this up and show how it was for me to actually create this illustration. This is amazing. This blows my mind whenever I see this. I believe, I haven't tried this yet, but you can also probably take the same time-lapse and send it directly into Premiere, and you can probably slow it down to increase the time for this video so it's not nearly as fast as it is right here. So that's a really cool feature. This is by far one of my favorite features. I use it from time to time. It's great because I can send it directly to my clients, and they love seeing this. They love seeing me sketching really fast, or they love watching me actually creating the illustrations like that. It would be amazing if Adobe Illustrator had a feature like that. That's me trying to plug in here and see if the Adobe team could create something like that. I know it would be insane, but you never know. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed this tutorial. I'm sorry that this video is so long. I'm sorry for the mess ups, but this is something that a lot of you have been asking me for a long time. I wanted to get to you. I wanted to get an in-depth view into the Adobe Illustrator Draw app. This is an app that I use a lot, and I'm always sharing stuff on my Instagram account from my creations on this app. So I hope you guys love this tutorial. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask in the comments below. Please let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. If you guys, if I might have forgotten something, I might have just like briefly talked about something you guys want to know a little bit more about, please ask me in the comments below. As always, remember, please like and subscribe to this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be putting out more videos like this, more tutorials this year, more vlogs. I'm going to also be experimenting a lot more with more things like I did earlier, I believe last week, with like woodblock printing and things like that. So please like and subscribe to this video. And as always, guys, remember, stay passionate, stay positive, and stay creative. All right, everybody, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm out. Bye.
Me.